We are live.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone joining us from across the globe. And welcome to Women Ascension 1 Million Leadership 2030 Mental Health and Wellbeing Mentorship Session. Women Ascension is a nonprofit organization uniting 5 continents in a shared mission to uplift quality of life and champion sustainable economic leadership. At the heart of this movement lies the Women Ascension 1 Million Leadership Fellowship Program 2030, our flagship global initiative. Present in 90 countries, this visionary program is dedicated to empowering 1 million leaders by 2030 through mentorship, skills development, dynamic workshops, and meaningful community outreach. Equally inspiring is WACO, our community outreach department where leadership meets lived experience. WACO is a vibrant space where fellows co-create initiatives that tackle real-world challenges, from ending gender-based violence and advancing health equity to amplifying local voices through powerful storytelling. Together, we are shaping a future where leadership knows no boundaries. Today, we are honored to explore women's mental health and gender-specific challenges with our esteemed mentor, Chiyamu Seraphine Johnsop. This session will explore women's unique mental health needs and the ways in which gender disparities continue to shape their experiences. We will look at the challenges women face across different stages of life, the effects these challenges have on their overall well-being, and the barriers that prevent access to quality, gender-sensitive mental health services. Finally, we will highlight the vital role that families, communities, and workplaces play in creating supportive environments that promote and protect women's mental health. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Miss Chiamo, a dedicated mental health advocate, biology teacher with over 15 years of experience and currently a PhD candidate in public health at the University of Bua in Cameroon, where she is researching teachers' mental health and neurochemical dynamics. She is the founding director of Chiamo Mental Health, Our Priority, a civil society organization that advocates for mental health and stress management, particularly among women and young people, from a public health and human rights perspective. Her commitment to health for all has taken her to several prestigious platforms, including the Africa CDC Mental Health Leadership Program, the People's Health Movement Global Health Governance Watch, at the World Health Assembly in Geneva, and the International Brain Research Organization's Neurobiology of Stress Symposium in Nigeria. Ms. Chiamo serves as country secretary for the Association of Mental Health Reform Organizations in Africa and literal regional coordinator for the People's Health Movement in Cameroon. Through Chiamo, she works tirelessly to raise awareness on non-communicable diseases, substance use, suicide prevention, and gender-based violence, whilst also promoting girl-child education, climate crisis mitigation for mental health, and mentorship for young people. I welcome you, Ms. Chiamo. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sheila, for that wonderful presentation of my profile. I am glad and honored to be here today to lead you on this very important topic of women's mental health and gender-specific challenges. Good afternoon, everyone all over the world. Good day, wherever you are on the globe. And let's be calm for this session because it's going to be both enlightening and I think therapeutic. So once more, you're all welcome from all angles of the globe watching this Women Ascension program right now. So our outline will run from an introduction to the general causes of all these challenges, the women's disproportionate challenges, the gender disparities, the impact of unique challenges on women's mental health, addressing the mental health challenges and barriers to care, highlighting the role of family, community, and workplace support. So I will invite all of us to pause for 15 seconds and reflect on the state of our mind right now. Our thoughts, 15 seconds, our feelings, our perceptions, our imaginations. What are we thinking about? Are we truly happy? Or we are feeling overwhelmed with so meaningful? Let's reflect a few seconds on those aspects. Okay, so we cannot continue without reiterating the very basic definition of mental health because all over the globe, many people still don't know what mental health is all about. So it is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn well, work well, and contribute to their community. And this state of well-being refers to emotional, psychological, social. And with this state, we are saying that we need to be feeling and expressing our emotions in a healthy way. It means that the negative emotions should be less than the positive ones. We should be able to think clearly, make decisions, and have a sense of self and purpose. We should be capable of forming positive relationships and engaging with our community. And we should be able to bounce back. We have to be resilient despite what happens or comes our way. Our mental health exists on a continuum. And this diagram, this figure shows us that continuum, that we have the healthy section, we have the coping, struggling, and the point where we are so unwell. So mental health englobes all of this, from the healthy to the unwell, meaning the mental health disorders or the mental health conditions. And globally, more than 1 billion people, they live with mental disorders. Women and girls experience disproportionately high rates, 3:1, anxiety and depression. That is statistics from the NIMH 2024 report. And 1 in 7 adolescents experience mental health conditions, worst among girls and diverse teens. Another report by AXA My Health shows that 44% of 44% of young adults, they self-report mental health problems, and 52% report the negative impact of social media. And approximately 1/4 global population may be affected by severe symptoms of depression, anxiety, or stress. And multiple reports suggest a worsening trend in global mental health. This diagram or this image is from the global prevalence from the recent WHO mental health data. And we can see how We are having more than 1 billion people. We are seeing the disproportionalities between the males and the females. We are seeing how anxiety and depression are the most prevalent. We are seeing how schizophrenia that most of our public health systems are focusing on is at the bottom. And this data is really alarming when you look at, for example, anxiety disorders. For the general causes, we have genetic predispositions, low self-esteem. Anyone with a low self-esteem will experience mental health issues. Interpersonal violence, when you have trouble everywhere with everyone. Social disconnection, because when you begin to have those interpersonal problems, you disconnect socially, so you isolate yourself, you become lonely, and those are contributing factors. Poverty, it's general. Social inequality, bribery, corruption, meritocracy issues. When you belong to a society where where people don't grow by merit, you feel frustrated, especially when you are not able to move because you are divided by social class. When you lost a loved one, climate change and natural disasters affect everyone's mental health. And that is why recently we are so much into mental health and psychosocial support that was acknowledged by WHO and member states this 2024. So we've been witnessing flooding all over the world, landslides, earthquakes is very devastating and is affecting everyone. When any person has for example, a chronic disease condition, it can as well affect your mental health. And we have social pressure these days. We want the world now is a global village, and the pressure is really there, and we need the skills to be able to stay calm, whatever the situation. As far as women are concerned, there is this big issue about gender-based violence, such as intimate partner violence, sexual violence, that thanks to the social media, we are seeing the numbers rising by the day. Sexual and reproductive health issues like unwanted pregnancies, abortions. There are so many untold stories about abortions, the psychological issues, the mental health issues abortion cause, childlessness. Many people, especially women, struggling with having the fruit of the womb, they go through a lot. Single parenting, discrimination, we have cultural stereotypes. In some cultures, women are not allowed to go to school. They are not allowed to own land. They are not allowed to work, not even to be empowered. Even when it comes to labor and wages, men, they earn higher. And we are seeing the percentages where we have equal values in work. The women are paid, they have a 61.4% as compared to 90% for men. There is child abuse that we are also witnessing. It can be physical, emotional, sexual, that is really rampant these days. Early marriage, relationship issues, psychological and physical violence. Women are going through a lot. Other challenges are when you have a sick or chronic sick child from genetic or congenital dispositions, the woman is disproportionately affected because she's closer, according to many cultures and societal norms. Women are closer to the children, so she suffers more. She has to be doing all the hospitals. Cyberbullying. Many women today, they are being bullied because they shared something on social media and all that. Social expectations, because women are clamoring for their rights. Now, the new norm is that since you want gender equality, then you also have to meet up with all other expectations. For example, you have to provide for your family, you have to care for the family, you have to care for in-laws, you have to care for everybody. So it's really weighing on women. Climate change and food insecurity. Prices of food are increasing all over the world. And who are the majority who go to the market to face these challenges? Sometimes I get to the market and I see my fellow women and I am really disheartened because you see the way a woman is like crazy in the market, struggling to beat the prices, farming, and it's not working because they are the majority who are to do the farm work, and climate issues, the damaged crops, and they face all the consequences because they still have to provide the food that the man, the boys, and everyone has to feed in the house. We are having conflicts all over the world, and there are many gender-specific challenges: sexual violence, kidnappings, missing children, widowhood when the men are killed. And some of these disparities are in terms of the dalis. Don't worry about dalis. We are going to mention that in subsequent slides. So in terms of the dalis, women are 54.5% compared to 45.5% in males. These are WHO statistics. Attention deficit hyperactive disorders that affect mostly the males. We have at older age, we see that about 15.2% of females compared to 12.6% of males, they suffer from mental disorders. Women and young people, they have a higher risk of all-cause mortality than the general population. The ratio of male to female dying by suicide is 1:2. So here we see that more males die from suicide than females. And in 2021, suicide was the second cause of death for 15 to 29 years old females, compared to third leading cause for males in the same age group. And the SDG suicide prevention rate is 1/3, which might not be met according to the SDG goals 2030. And that is why we are here, in order to join hands together with multilateral bodies, international, continental, to see how we can accelerate such that we are able to catch up with our SDG 2030 goals. For men, the men and the boys side of the story has to be intentionally heard. More men today, they are advocating for their own mental health. There is the issue of unemployment when it comes to the male gender. Most often during adulthood, or young adults and adults, when the males are unemployed, they might suffer the consequences which will affect their mental health more than the female gender. Children are teamed against their parents, their fathers, where men are tricked into going against the law for judiciary interest. We see this especially in the Western world, where the women are the most favored, and we are getting the stories on the ground how men are tricked into situations where they will be obliged by the judiciary system to cater for the woman and the children. Some men are also being on the look, they are maltreated, some are even beaten. Disappointment, especially the men who engage in sponsoring women, and at one point they are disappointed. And the impact on women's mental health is scandalous, it's enormous. The consequences, for example, intimate partner or domestic violence, it increases the risk of anxiety, depression, stress, including post-traumatic stress disorders, and suicidal ideation. And with the SDG goals that we have just less than 5 years to get there, countries are not on point to get to the targets for intimate partner violence. And we see that as we are not getting to the target for some of these factors, when you look at this image, you see depression, how high it is, and causing years of life lived with disabilities. You also see anxiety disorders that are highlighted here, and people complain of back and neck pain, diabetes, iron deficiencies, gynecological issues, and that can be seen here when it comes to physical health consequences. There's a lot of premature mortality. The premature mortality is rarely recorded in hospital records from mental health issues. So the way the burden of mental health conditions, or the calculation of the burden of diseases, is done, mental health issues like depression and anxiety, they are not very much included. So most of them, when people get to the hospital, they are the records of the cause of their death is mostly something else other than mental health. And I got talking to a friend a few days ago, and she told me how she was on field for a free screening, and many of the women, more than 70%, they were hypertensive and they were even unaware. But they complained of neck pain, they have nerves pain, they have chronic headache, and we also have respiratory diseases and infections. And other consequences are behavioral, and there is evidence about the links between some risk factors of NCDs and mental health. So in the particular case of women who start with unhealthy diet, we are seeing the disproportionate statistics. And when we relate that to women, we see that women will tend to have eating disorders, unhealthy diets, physical inactivity, because all their time they have to be handling one or two challenges. Some even get into alcoholism. And we also have smoking. Some do smoke. But if we look at the side of the men, we are going to reverse this if we want to think about the other increase. Men will start, for example, taking alcohol, going to smoking, unhealthy diet, and physical inactivity. So we are now seeing the link between, for example, the gender-based violence that is not being addressed with a mental health condition, and the link between the mental health condition and risk factors for non-communicable diseases, and how we can then result to non-communicable diseases. Many women, you hear of cancer, you hear of different types of cancer, you hear of heart problems, hypertension, diabetes, and all that. So I strongly believe from my own lived experiences, there is a fundamental or a strong connection between our chronic life challenges that cannot be managed and the non-communicable diseases that the whole world is struggling to curb, and we are not getting to our targets. So other causes are economic loss. Apart from the mental and the physical health consequences, we have a lot on economic loss. The individuals, families, and the whole society, they suffer. Anxiety, depression that we are seeing, it leads to so many days of work that is lost on, or days lost that would have been used productively. And when this is calculated, it gives us globally about 1 trillion US dollars. That is so enormous for such a topic to be under prioritized. We have overburdened health systems. From the previous slide, we're trying to see the link on how some of these underlying challenges, when they are not addressed, we are going to even get to the level of NCDs and even infectious diseases. And our health system will not only be burdened with mental health issues, they will also be burdened with physical health issues and even injuries, because people will find themselves drying under the influence of alcohol because they are trying to, cover their problems, and that is how we will have so many problems and our overburdened health systems. Debt and poverty, with especially in countries where there is still a lot of out-of-pocket expenditure. When health issues are concerned, you must go to the market. And even people who indulge in risky behaviors like alcoholism, even unhealthy diets, they spend a lot, and you will go an extra mile to borrow and indebt yourself. And we have also struggles with school and school dropouts, especially for girls, for women and girls. In order to address these issues, we need to target from personal to external or collective or coordinated strategies. For the personal strategies, women and girls and everyone has to speak out, and everyone has to be listened to. In some cultures, divorce is out of place. It means we are not listening to these women despite our human rights for freedom of speech and all that. A mindset shift. Sometimes it's because we made some errors while growing up, because we went through what we went through. So we need a mindset shift in order to acknowledge that we went through these things, we forgive ourselves, and we see how we can move forward. Women need empowerment, they need independence. And this independence is in complementarity with men. When we talk about independence, it's not a threat like most men think about. Independence means the woman should be capable of taking care of herself, feeling like she is human, having her self-worth, and having that financial freedom in order to also assist. Networking. Today, I I applaud Women Ascension. They are doing a great job, bringing the whole world together, providing opportunities for everyone. And that is how we have to work as humans. Whether you are from the South, whether you're from the West, North, East, we are all humans and we are working towards the same goals. So we need to share opportunities. We need to collaborate with one another in order to target common human problems. Sexual education is also very important in order to address most of these barriers. I don't know how it all happened with me, but right from the very beginning, as early as primary school, as early as 7, 8 years, I got aware that the only way to get out of all my troubles was education. And despite the challenges, I am still there. Even with the challenges, I'm still moving. And I think the educational part of it should not be underlooked. Today, there is a misquote about education because most educational systems are not they are not preparing humans or youths or everyone towards solving societal problems. They are preparing people to amass wealth for themselves, for their families, not to think about humanity as a globe. Coordinated efforts. Those were personal efforts. Coordinated efforts. It is an inclusive struggle and it should be everyone's business. At Chiamo Mental Health, our priority, we are targeting from a public health as a preventive perspective, a multi-sectoral, a multi-stakeholder, and human rights perspective. So no one is supposed to be a spectator. Partnership and complementarity with men is very, very vital in this struggle. Walking the talk, we are not inventing the wheel or we are not reinventing the wheel. The services, the funding, the skills, information, research, we all know that these are necessary in order to address this. There are so many conventions, there are so many policies, there are so many conferences that have been held with resulting strategies, policies. But what is happening at the level of different countries, governance, many, we still have inadequate policies, plans, and laws. Misplaced priorities, like we have always been focusing on schizophrenia, of which we are seeing from the data that in as much as schizophrenia is very, very severe, the signs and symptoms and everything about it, but the disabilities with anxiety and depression and the economic loss when we do not prioritize these common mental health conditions is quite alarming. So we need to shift our strategies from psychiatry to preventive strategies and inclusive. Funding is still a major problem. 2% country budgets. And even with this 2%, we have that's 2% is the average. In some, we have 1%, and even this 1% at the end does not go to fund the mental health activities or go to fund only psychiatric activities. So we need to shift the strategy. We need to finance gender equality initiatives, and gender equality or feminine initiatives should not be looked upon as threats to whatsoever relationship, because we are urging all women and girls to understand that we cannot succeed without the men by us. And that's why Women Ascension and Women in Global Health and all, they are including men in their struggle. Collaboration with feminist organizations like those for gender-based violence, climate action, peace, and security are coordinated strategies that we can use to address some of these problems. One biggest issue is data tracking. We have seen the statistics. Without the statistics, we cannot get to where, or we are moving blindly. But again, we see that in most low and middle income countries, there is a big data gap. And how then can we be accountable for whatsoever we are doing as far as mental health is concerned? And again, we have gender social norms that perpetrate biases against women. We know of conferences that happen, like, for example, the Beijing conference 30 years ago about women's rights, violence against women, gender equality, and all that. And we have just 5 years to SDG targets, and we are not really seeing, we are not really sure if we are going to meet those targets or keep on extending. And all of these are in place. These are more of the challenges. The workforce is there. 1 to 100,000 population in low and middle income countries, as compared to 60 in high income countries. Is this not suicidal for the mental health professionals? How can they be effective with these numbers? We need to track these statistics. If we don't track it, we will not know whether we are progressing or not. Only 9% of people with depression receive adequate treatment. 9%. And we are seeing the burden. Access to essential medicines, challenging. Women's rights, freedom of speaking, right to education, zero tolerance, bridging the gender digital gap, gender equality, empowerment of women and girls. All of those, we know that these are the strategies that we need to use in order to arrive where we are going to. But despite all the promises, all the policies, all the laws, which are very good, if we don't have urgent actions, we are not going to get to where we want to get to. We'll keep on doing the same thing and expecting a different result. If we are not able to address, for example, conflicts, we should not expect to meet our targets in mental health, because we know the direct link between conflicts and mental health. The role of the family, community, and workplace cannot be undermined. It cannot be overemphasized. And this is my personal story, the role of family, because I grew up without knowing what mental health was all about. After losing my father to NCDs and all other issues that were around his demise, as a young girl of about 5 years, I didn't know that there was something like mental health. And when I flash back today, I know I was going through a lot after having lost my father. And that is a general cause for mental health issues. But as time went on, unfortunately or fortunately, my elder brother that you see here, Atiafak Martin, he fell sick, and at the beginning, he was diagnosed of cerebral malaria. But as time went on, it got worse, and today I understand he was suffering from schizophrenia. Suffered for more than 10 decades without without adequate knowledge, no support, no care. And I am still to go into the health system where he was consulted to see if I can have anything in the archives concerning what they did with him, and feeling frustrated without any healing. My mom resorted to traditional healers and all that. So the whole life situation took a toll. I will talk about my case, not my other 14 siblings case. I will talk about my personal case. And when I look at the family, the community, and the workplace, those people who were there to support me throughout this moment, they are the people who have contributed to getting me where you see me today. This was in 2024, the Mental Health Leadership Program in Ibadan, Nigeria. When you look at the picture in the middle, this was in 2025, and this is a photo of where we lived. It's true that even the conditions of today are not so much better than this, but this one got collapsed, and this is where we used to live. So you can imagine the stigmatization, the suffering, the poverty, that all the money has to go to the traditional healers to no avail until he got missing, the struggle with school, everyone who was there to give the little support, the one who was there to give a home, the one who was there to say, oh, sorry, and so on and so forth. But today, I'm urging the whole world that we have to be more intentional about how we give psychosocial support. Families need to be informed, and that is why webinars as such is very important to inform the communities, to inform the general population that the struggle for mental health should be everyone's concern. At the family level, the community level, we need to show compassion. We need to care for one another. We need to alleviate and reduce suffering. If someone comes to your office, you don't know their struggles and you don't attend to them the way you are supposed to because they have to give you something or that, it means that you are contributing to killing indirectly because their mental health issues, their mental health will be at stake. You'll be pushing them from the healthy, probably to the coping. And if they have been struggling a lot, they'll be moving to the mental disorder state that we saw on the continuum. And my story continues at the World Health Assembly, where I met the Minister of Public Health Cameroon, where we discussed issues concerning the Global Health and Peace Initiative that Cameroon is a pilot country. These moments to me were like dream moments. And I used to tell my team members in the People's Health Movement that when I imagine myself from the suburbs, the village, that I didn't know electricity, I didn't know how I was ever going to be what I wanted to be because my father, he wasn't poor, our family wasn't poor, but because he died suddenly and things went the way they went, that is how the suffering started. That is how the agony started. And this went up to a point of suicidal ideation. If I had committed it, I wouldn't have been here talking with you. So when I got to meet these important health leaders, like the Director General of the WHO, these were dream moments for me. They may not be dream moments for some people because of the privilege they have in the course of their life. But to me, this was a big dream. And I very much appreciate how people of different status can associate with anyone, for example, the Director General. And here we are today with Women's Ascension, a constant seeking for skills, knowledge led me to Women Ascension, and we are here. So this takes us to our conclusion where we would say that mental health trends are not decreasing globally, despite all our struggles all over the world. And the female gender is disproportionately affected. The health and economic impacts are scandalous, and mental health and men's mental health too matters a lot. And no one should be a spectator. All hands are needed on deck. Promises, policies, laws are good, but we need more urgent actions. The role of the family, community, and workplace cannot be overemphasized. Thank you for listening. And we have our Q&A. Mrs. Sheila, over to you.
Oh, that was wonderful. That was a very insightful presentation. And the presentation, it is a call for urgent action. Mental health is real, and it is really starting from grassroots level where we live. And with it's so heartening to on the gender disparities, like the ratio, like more males are committing suicide. It's so disheartening. And children also teaming up against their fathers because of unemployment, there's peer pressure out there. The impact on our health is high because as women, we are role models in our family. We carry, a, a lot of burdens to us. Everyone look up to us. It's like these days you see that responsibilities have swapped. You find that women these days has more responsibilities than men. It is really challenging. And the issue of access to women's health care as well, we really need to speak out on the policies, on how other women on the lower level can also access medical care because of this mental health challenge through uncommunicable diseases, which is also rising. And also the other challenge that has been put across is high rates of divorces because of unemployment. Also, women needs to be taken care of, children needs to be taken care of. And if men are not useful in that area, not doing their responsibilities, there is always fights in homes, causing gender-based violence. Sometimes it's both ways. Um, it's really disheartening. And thank you for sharing your story. Our situation does not define us. We have to change. Like our families, close people, they are our role models, and we need really to support each other. I tell you, with the things that are going on these days in this era, there's peer pressure of social media. People are busy on the phone, and everyone is trying to seek relevance out there. um, Families are just, you know, getting far away from each other. We no longer eat together like we used to do when we were young, sitting together, eating together. It's no longer like that every day. So charity begins at home for sure. We need to be compassionate. We need to love one another. We need to ask to find out how the other person is doing, just to say, how are you? And putting a smile, we really make a difference as well, in doing these small things. I want to thank you. Now I want to start to call you doctor. You're Dr. Chiamo now. Permit me to call you that. Yes, indeed, it was well articulated session. And now I put the floor even to the viewers and listeners who are here present on the Zoom platform, and those who are at the YouTube, please, you can also forward your questions. This is the time to ask your questions. Maybe it can start with me. I can start. Um, uh, Dog, can you again? I know you have covered this, but in case for those who came late, my question is, what are the most common mental health challenges women face at different stages of life, and how can we proactively address them?
Thank you very much. So I'll just first of all start from childhood. Childhood
Yeah.
where we we have many children who have lost one of their parents. They suffer from those conditions, and they are more at risk of suffering from these conditions, and they need a world, they need a society, they need a community, they need a community that shows empathy, that shows compassion, that can lend a hand to these children. Else, it's going to result to the high burden of anxiety and depression that we are seeing at the adolescent and the older age. So that is first. And second, we are witnessing a lot of sexual violence out there. And with these young children, they carry the burden of it all through their lives. And we heard from mentor Patrina yesterday that it hardly ever leaves you. So that is another one. And those children who are not living with their biological parents, they are very sensitive. And we have to be more intentional how we treat such children. Because whatsoever you do, they interpret it. And that interpretation, if you are not attentive to their mental well-being, just because psychologically they know you're not their parent, if you, let's say there is a beating, they will believe that you're beating because you are not their biological child. So it just happens and it is human. So we have to be more intentional how we handle such. When we move towards adolescence, where we are having all the hormones, the young people, we encounter issues with the sexual and reproductive health. We are talking about the social media and pressure. Many young people, they want to be like the stars that they see out there. They want to be like, because they see everything is perfect when they are coming on screen, they think that is how life is. But life has its realities. That is what we have to tell the young generation of today, living in a very global world. At first, you could sit at the corner of your house and do whatsoever, and nobody sees. But today, people buy, for example, clothes, shoes, just because they know each time you wear, someone will be able to, when you post, someone will be able to see it out there. And someone recently asked me, but why are you always putting on the same shoes? So if my mental health wasn't, if I didn't have a solid way of how I'm interpreting all of that, I will feel overwhelmed. Like I want to do this or I do that. Even if I'm wearing one dress all the time, it's my business. It's none of your business. If I'm wearing one shoe, if it's because I have one shoe, because I actually replied to this person that it's because this is the only shoe I have. Please, do you want to offer me? And there was no reply. So that is what is happening to our young people out there. They want to please the world, they want to please their peers, and it's causing a lot of pressure on them, and they can make so many mistakes. Some they go out with men for monies, unwanted pregnancies, abortions that also can have repercussions later on in life and all that, which jeopardizes their mental health. There's a lot about drug abuse with youths, especially these days. They are the most vulnerable. So those are some of the mental health challenges that the youths can go through. So they need a lot of awareness, just like we are discussing, and that will help them to be able to psychologically be stable in a world where people are running helter skelter and showing out what is not even real. When you meet some people who come on stage and you see all the glamour, all what is glittering, if you know what they are going through at the background and you want to be like those people, you end up destroying your own future because you stretch your hands where you're not supposed to. We know how people can make mistakes when they are in a hurry to get to where they are not yet prepared to be. So when we continue, we'll get to women that are older, relationship problems. Maybe a suitor or a husband is not coming and menopause is approaching, and it's a whole overwhelming situation that you need to be able to manage. And another one, those who get into relationships, there are a lot of relationship challenges. And if you don't have the right skills to manage, it's still going to break you. Divorce and all that is really rampant at that age, at an older age. We have divorce issues, gender-based violence issues that we are urging all women and trying to bridge the communication gap, because there are many good things that the world has put in place in order to help humans, that many countries have put in place, but people are not aware. Many things that go on at high level meetings or tables are meant for the people at the grassroots. And yet these people at the grassroots, they are not informed. So part of what we do is to bridge that communication gap. So there needs to be a lot of information flow out there, and that information to be simplified to the level of anybody in the society. The big language, the big English, the big terms is meant for specialists so that they understand themselves and put things in order. But when it comes to the society, we need to break down everything. And that is why I tagged this conference as down to earth discussions. We don't need all the high level books. So, and when people get to older age, women, you see, some women who have struggled with their children, even as widows, children grow up because of social pressure. They want to please the society. They abandon their parents. They no longer care. Some no longer want to see people, no longer want people to see that, or maybe their father or mother is looking in a way that they cannot help them to look better as they want. And it takes a toll on older people's mental health. Some spend their lives taking care of other people and they don't show appreciation. So one of the ways to address that or to prepare yourself for the future is that when you're helping anybody, don't expect anything in return. Just know you're helping a human and do what you are able to do without expecting anything else. You'll be disappointed and you'll start regretting. So, Mrs. Sheila, I think I answered, or my contribution helped to address, especially for those who were not there.
Yes, thank you, Chiamo. And we've got a question. Our first question is from Meseri. Let's hope I am pronouncing that correctly. Amen. She says here, to what extent can legislators balance women's individual privacy when seeking mental health services with the legal requirements for reporting cases of violence or severe violations? That's number one. Her second question is, are there
Can we
legal
can we
gaps?
just can we just go
Do the first one.
chronologically, please? If
Okay,
I understood
that's
well, if I don't understand well, please you just correct me. I think this
okay.
person's question is trying to address issues of confidentiality when it comes to
Yes,
mental health care.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
like
No,
what legal actions can be taken when uh, when confidentiality is breached?
reporting cases. Yes, when reporting cases of violence, like if there are no any judgmental, like privacy.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
If I can hint that, what I know is that whether the person is asking from the perspective of a professional or from the perspective of a lay member of the society, I would say from the perspective of a professional, if actually you're a professional, you are supposed to know that confidentiality is one of the measure or the first thing when it comes to mental health. And the government is there with policies to protect the the patient. So it means that you can actually, if that is breached, you can look for legal ways and hope the legal system will not fail you in order to address your issue. And if you don't have the skills in reporting, then you go for some training. Like I recently attended an ethical suicide reporting training, and it was a great session. How you have to talk about suicide. People just go out there, for example, saying this person committed suicide because, and they give their own reasons, of which it's not probably the case. It comes because maybe the person has been too resilient over so many things you are unaware of. So when you attend such capacity building trainings as a professional who acknowledges his or her shortcomings, I think you will not make such errors. And from the perspective of the patient, you can only follow the legal procedure. And if there's no legal procedure, then you can report to the the society for mental health professionals in your country. I hope I addressed that. I hope that helped.
Yes, she's also asking whether there are any legal gaps for compensation or providing redress for women's psychological harm of violence or discrimination compared to compensation for physical harm.
If I can attempt, I think there are many, many gender-based or feminist organizations that are advocating for gender-specific rules for women. And I'm from Cameroon. From the perspective of Cameroon, I know recently we were at the National Assembly doing a lot of advocacy with the minister. So mental health, gender-based violence issues, even though some of those laws, some of the policies drafted so many years ago, things are still happening, the struggle is still going on, and different organizations are still trying to see how they can get to reducing and possibly really addressing this issue of mental gender-based violence. So if there is any shortcoming in terms of how they are compensated, know that women are still advocating, and you can become one of those advocates to see how that point can be addressed, because lived experiences see sometimes more than any other person can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering. I hope it has been understood clear. And there is another question. What do you think that one should do if one is unable to navigate through life while playing so many roles in life and losing self?
Okay, thank you. I think this also applies to me because I have had a lived experience of burnout. I didn't even know what burnout was, but after having my first baby, who is 15 years old today, that is when I experienced burnout. I knew there was something really wrong, and I got to understand it was burnout. And that is one of the reasons why I am studying burnout. I was the perfectionist type. I want my baby's clothes to be, have all the well ironed and everything. So that can be a factor. Today, with all my experience with promoting stress management and mental health issues, what I do is that, like before we're having this conference, I had a very challenging past days in the sense that things just came up that I had to prioritize. And each time I get to a point where I am like exhausted, I just have to rest. I just have to take a break. Because if you continue, you will break down. And nothing should be so important compared to your health. Anything that is detrimental or that can destroy you, you have to give yourself a break. If you continue, you're going to break down. Physiologically, it's the literature is there that there is limit. We all have our thresholds. And if you continue, you are going to break down. And some of the things I intentionally do is nutrition, because all what you're doing, all the sensory information is passing through your nerves, and your nerves are using all the ions, and you need to take them in the food you eat. You need to drink water, you need this, you need that, you need energy. That energy food has to provide. Some people go the whole day, they don't eat because they are so busy. And you have to understand that you're breaking down your system. And when you're no longer there, life continues. So nothing should stop you from taking a break when you feel overwhelmed. And when you take a rest, you renew yourself and you can even achieve more. Yes, Mrs. Sheila.
Um, Sally is saying, please talk about how best to deal with postnatal depression. I feel like a lot of women are going through it and nothing much is being done about it.
Okay. Yes,
postnatal depression.
yes. The first thing is awareness. When you're not aware, you suffer more. I just mentioned perfectionism. Sometimes, especially with young women, even married women, some get pregnant without proper planning. And when the baby comes, you need to do a lot. You need to sort yourself. And Mrs. Sheila, you just mentioned a world where people are doing their things. You see them doing things. You also want to do things. But then, as a mother, you need to prioritize the baby as well. And if you didn't actually plan well, you should also accept the fact that you didn't plan well and know that the baby's health is is first. For example, there came times because all my babies I'm in school, I'm working. So there came a time where, for example, if I have disappointments with my care people who are caring for my baby, I would tell myself, what else is more important than this baby? And I just make up my mind and I stay at home and I take care of the baby. So we need to be aware and also understand that when you give birth as a woman, your body changes. And it's true that the image that our men want to see out there, they want to see a perfect woman, and women struggle a lot with that. When they give birth and they see their body change from what it used to be. I used to weigh 50 kilograms before I started giving birth. And today I'm almost at 90, and which is not very good, and I'm struggling to get back. But again, you look at your babies and you accept that it's a stage you have to go through, a stage that many are not able to go through. Many are yearning to be mothers and they are unable. And you learn to thank God for what He has done. Sometimes you say, my belly is too big. When you look at another person, they don't even have legs. So when we learn to have gratitude for just being alive and seeing a new day, we tend to reduce some of the pressure that we want a perfect life, we want our jobs, we want to have perfect bodies. And when we accept that it's a natural path, we'll feel calmer, we'll feel better, we'll feel happier.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Happiness is what we all need to stay calm and collected and to be content with what we have. Georgette
Mm.
King, she's asking, menstruation sometimes causes depression among young girls. Please explain. This is to do with biology.
Yes, yes, it's
Menstruation.
still it's yes, menstruation. This goes down to knowledge. Women need adequate knowledge when it comes to menstrual hygiene. That it's a normal process. I am a biology teacher, and when I'm teaching reproduction, I tell my students that, for example, I tell them, if you don't have a reproductive system, will you even be smiling in front of us? And they begin to see some of those realities. I ask them, if your parents didn't give birth to you, will they be happy? And they begin to see those realities to make them understand that it is through this process that you'll be able to procreate. Don't you want to go through menstruation and not procreate? When they see those realities, they're going to understand that it's natural. And if you have the pains, you have to bear it. It's a natural cause. And when you accept it, you understand your how to the hygiene of all of it, the physiology of all of it, you're going to be able to bear it with less stress. There's no reason to be stressed up. You should rather be happy because some women are unable to menstruate and they are not happy because they are not able to go through that. Because when you don't menstruate, obviously there are possibilities that might not be, there might be something wrong gynecologically that can also seriously jeopardize your mental health. So it's true that not everybody must have children. And that is why people who finally are unable to have, they also have to accept it. So it's not like a do or die, accepting by taking other people's children and caring for. But young girls have to understand that this is a basic natural process and very important for their future mental health. That is, if this thing isn't happening to you or doesn't happen to you, your mental health tomorrow is at stake. So they should accept and embrace and practice the hygiene of it and be happy women. Many groups are out there for menstrual hygiene.
Yes, and also when they Google these things on social media, it doesn't mean that every information on social media is accurate. Some of the information instills fear on a girl child. So I'm sure they're going to be happy and they must know that they are fruitful. They're going to have babies. Maybe they are afraid of giving birth because they've heard that when you're giving birth, it's so painful. The labor pains are too much. But well, it's not about that. Thank you, Chiamo. Thank you. Our next one, Odette, is saying, thank you for this wonderful presentation, madam. What strategies do you recommend to address mental health challenges that girls and women experience as a result of rape from spouses and incest? The prevalence of this seems to be on the rise in my community.
Okay, Mom.
The rape
I
issue.
got it. Okay, thank you for the question. I'm not going to talk from the point of a professional because we have mental health professionals out there and we also have lived experiences. But if that is the case, even though we are talking about the professionals, the workers, the mental health workforce that is very low, but you should be aware that we have professionals out there who can be of help, who can really help you to try to bounce back. There is that narrow window that we saw from our previous session, that there is a window that you can be brought, which is relatively healthy. So the individual has to learn how to speak. You start by speaking to someone you trust. And if it doesn't help, that is how you go gradually towards professionals. What is most dangerous is when people keep it to themselves. Young people, they keep it to themselves because when you internalize it, that is how it torments you. That is how the problem becomes big because it affects other areas. So you need to know how to get out of it by starting a conversation with someone you trust, and gradually you get to a health professional who can use the different psychotherapeutic techniques to enable you unwind your brain from all what you went through. You can see the image we have on our first slide. When you go through such, that is how your brain is inside. Things are just in disorder. And the moment you begin to share with someone you trust, without keeping it all to yourself, when you keep it all to yourself, it becomes too heavy. And we are also enlightening the community that we shouldn't judge, we should be the support system for anyone who comes around us, for our family members, for our community members. It should be their support system. And we are inviting everyone to be engaged in this struggle for mental well-being for everyone. So wherever you are, you can still connect someone, you can provide a little support at your end just by listening to that person's story and probably directing the person to where they can get more professional help.
Yes, questions are still being dropped. We have Miss Canvey. She's asking, how do gender-specific expectations in society influence women's mental health across different life stages? I'm sure you've covered this one.
Yes, yes, but if we can just wrap it up. a little.
Yes, yes,
The expectations, the expectations
yes,
these days for for
in society.
everyone is high,
Mm.
but disproportionate for women because the world is becoming one small place, like we are all here, and cultural stereotypes and other stuffs are being diluted. So what happens is that from an African perspective, women at first were supposed to be just for childbearing, taking care of the house, and which was still very overwhelming to these women who carry out work that is not paid, and most often their work is seen as no work. So what happens is that today in the world, women they want to work, and they want to work, they want to do other things like men, but at the same time, the men don't want to do what the women were doing, like the cooking. In most places, that doesn't happen. The woman will have to take care of the babies. Yes, you want your empowerment, you want to acquire the skills, you want your independence, but you will still have to do all what you're supposed to do. So those are some of the challenges that these women will be experiencing at different stages, especially their natural biological vulnerabilities to the different things they can encounter uh, as children, as young adults, the challenges are just so disproportionate. And again, what is being expected of them is really enormous. So they have to also be conscious of setting their boundaries. Do not, they always say, bite more than you can chew. So you should still have your boundaries in as much as you want to do this, you want to do that. You have to understand that there is a limit to our capabilities, or individual circumstances are not the same. Some people have a very strong family support system. Some can give birth and give to their parents, they take care and all that, but other situations are not the same. So you have to handle your own situation in a unique way, take your decisions wisely, and setting your boundaries, being organized. For example, someone like me, I and I also think that is how the humanitarian space is. Your time has so much value. If you spend all your youth, your life in nightclubs and all whatnot, it's going to be very challenging. I just said I had a very challenging days before this seminar. And if what I was to present today wasn't, first of all, I didn't have the background of that, I will not be able to talk on the seminar the way we are talking. So the time, I mean, it's a lifetime issue. Building yourself through those stages is a lifetime issue. And today, the youth, people are so much in a hurry to get there, not knowing that it can take a whole lifetime. And what is most important is the hope you have every blessed day of your life. You might dream of so many things. In class, children would, you ask them, for example, those who are just starting, say secondary school, what do you want to become in future? They'll tell you, I want to become a pilot, I want to become a medical doctor, I want to become all the great things you can think about. But when they start growing up, the normal challenges of life set in, and you have to adapt. You have to accept your own unique path, and you have to be intentional in all the activities you carry out all the time, all the days. Don't think you will waste time and like you spill your milk and you think you can still gather all you spill. You should also accept that you can't have it all back. That's what I can contribute to that word. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Another one is this one resonates with me. In what ways can childhood trauma shape a woman's emotional well-being and relationships in adulthood?
Okay, I think this is similar to other question about lived experience. I've not had lived
Yes,
experience on abuse,
yes,
but
yes.
but it increases the risk because the scars remain, and
Mm,
if they're not well managed, even when they are managed, they still can't go completely away, but they can still be there, and you're living a fulfilled life. So if you go through such, you have to be aware that it increases your risk of more severe conditions in future, and you be more conscious in managing and leaving the situation in control.
okay. Yes. The next one is, what about the women who are forced to marry just due to age factor, and even the family and society is not cooperating either since childhood marriages, early marriage.
Yes, yes, I think I get the question. And if I can attempt, I will say that it has different perspectives, your personal perspectives and the societal perspectives. And that is why we have to educate right from very young age how like life coaching, we have to intentionally do that and know that we are preparing the young person growing up in order to be a better person tomorrow. So the choices you make, the kind of decisions you make while growing up, they can influence whether you have a partner at whatsoever level. It has an influence. I often tell some people that treat everybody nicely, because sometimes you can have a young person who maybe the narcissists, they come from privileged backgrounds and they think they can get all what they want and they don't care about people. So what happens is that you don't know the ripple effect of all your actions. You never know where your luck will come from. So it's something we have to be conscious and know that what goes around comes around. You give out good things, you can also have back good things. But life is not a straight line graph. God's time is the best, people say. Your life was planned, is designed. When you know you're doing the right thing, then you should be confident that the right moment is coming. And when you know yourself, no one should be capable of pushing you to do what you don't want to do or to hurry up. So you can use other models who had their chances at very late stages. Some people end up not having, but they are still living very happy and fulfilled life. So it's not a copy and paste, it's an individual and divine something for you and you alone. And how you manage it is very, very important, right from childhood to whatsoever stage. Over, Mrs.
Yes,
Sheila.
thank you. And then we have young Fabiola. Because of time, maybe we can just wrap it up fast. How can you help a lady whose ex-husband doesn't assist with welfare of the kids?
Yeah, thank you very much.
And
Uh,
and making the kids to understand.
Yes, that is why we are talking about self-empowerment. We're talking about you need to empower yourself. You can do it. You can do it and also help the man. So you need to look for ways to empower yourself. It's possible. What about the case where the women are widows? They don't die. They still work and their children become great people. So if you manage your psychology in a way that whether he is there or he's not there, whether he's supporting or he's not supporting, you can empower yourself and help yourself especially if the situation is not killing you, because most often we advise that divorce is never the best solution because it causes more harm than good, even though you shouldn't stay to the cost of your life. So if the situation is a manageable one, you empower yourself and you get on like you are alone, and whatsoever the person brings, you can move on with that. Never turning the children against their parents or keeping them away from their father or mother, because it has a psychological toll on the child, on the children. Even if they don't tell you, is because children most often they internalize, and you'll be doing more harm than good. So they shouldn't know their father is a bad person or whatsoever. That should remain between you two adults, and keep children out of it for their own well-being.
Well, thank you, Chiamo. We wrap up now. We want to thank everyone for joining this important dialogue. For those who are in the YouTube and those who are here on Zoom, together we are advancing the mission of Women Ascension 1 Million Leadership 2030 to create supportive spaces for women, mental health, and leadership. Let's continue to inspire change in our communities. Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again, Chiamo, for a well articulated and insightful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The Afghanistan woman who said they don't go to school, just keep on advocating. You might be that change maker. Jirani, I just saw your message. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sheila. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
we call it a
you.
day. And we continue on social media. We are a global
Yes,
community.
yes, we'll continue to those whom we haven't answered their question. There's going to be a recording. You can go to YouTube and watch it again. Thank you to all participants. Thank you to our head of worker, Ms. Zoa Hussein, and her assistant, Kanvi. It's a pleasure. Good night. Good evening. Good morning. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.